And we're live, I think. Welcome back to the channel, guys, and welcome to something new for the channel for 2022. So I think, obviously, we're going to be doing the race watch-along live streams as we kind of go through the year and obviously working through the season with our kind of, you get our instant reactions as we watch the races, and we'll stay on a little bit to that as well as doing I think our race reaction videos as well. So hopefully you enjoy that. But yeah, I thought it's always good to kind of communicate with you guys and work through the latest news or any kind of IndyCar general chat. I put out a poll, I think, on Monday asking what you guys would prefer, a kind of a race watch along or kind of a live stream just talking about the latest news in IndyCar and IndyCar chat on that front. So yeah, I thought we'd kind of go for this. So we'll jump straight into it in terms of getting into the news. Let me just kind of make sure I've got the right screen up for there. Okay. Perfect. Right. Okay. So going through the latest news, obviously with the thumbnail you can tell, announced yesterday I believe it was, that Juan Pablo Montoya will be returning to Arrow McLaren SP, and that is an interesting one actually, because with all the names and drivers they had kind of linked in the all the drivers that they had linked over the winter period that they had testing, I'm surprised they've gone for Juan Pablo Montoya again, but I guess he's a big name within America. He's a big name within the series, obviously a two-time winner himself and a championship winner with two of the biggest teams in the series, with Chip Ganassi and Team Penske as well. Hello, Pablo! Hello, Dan. Good to see you in chat. From there, but yeah, what do you make of the news of Juan Pablo Montoya? See, we've got 5 people in the chat, so yeah, jump in with some opinions on that. I think it's probably a smart move for Arrow McLaren. Obviously, they're going to be pushing hard with Pato for a championship, and if Chevy are able to bounce back, they'll obviously be looking to push for a 500 bid, and Felix Rosenqvist in his second season with the team hopefully should be more settled, so having the experienced head of Juan Pablo Montoya and star name to fill their third seat while they kind of take a little bit more time to kind of go from there, it's a safe move, I think. I'm not entirely sure we were it's not too shocking to see him return to that car for there. Good to see you in chat, John. Did you know that Ayrton Senna drove an IndyCar once? I did indeed. There were even rumours that he might have joined for the 95 season, it would have been, yeah, wouldn't it? Because sadly, yeah, he passed away in 94. I'm not entirely sure how strong Senna would have been to kind of go into IndyCar, not as a driver, as in whether he was just using that as a bargaining tool with F1 rather than having serious commitment to IndyCar, but I think he definitely enjoyed the experience. Why didn't McLaren sign the hometown boy? Unbelievable, Dan. Unbelievable. Why didn't they sign the hometown boy? That has to be a big question, but it was a strong, there you see that, one of the main stories on here. Montoya returning with Arrow McLaren SP. I guess the news today, I believe it was, or was it that announced yesterday, is the Indy Lights getting a 14 race schedule for 2022. Unfortunately, well, obviously Indy Lights we know now is back under the main fold of IndyCar with Penske owning that, so that is positive for the series as there's more cohesion, although there has been a strong kind of promotion of champions into IndyCar, the latest of course with Kyle Kirkwood, who will run with AJ Foyt Racing this year in the number 14 car. NBC revealed the times of all the races. I guess we can get that one up. Yeah, there we go. They've got the schedule for the calendar there. So quite a lot of the races are kind of at that noon time. The most important one here is seeing the NBC. Everyone here is on network TV. You've got the exclusive one on Peacock for Toronto, which I think is a bit of a shame for Toronto, because obviously it's missed the last two. It's missed the last 2 years with COVID and not being able to host the race. So I don't know if that is a reflection of why they've put that streamed on Peacock, but it is generally a pretty good race from what I've heard, and I think people are pretty keen, and from the drivers, they quite like racing the circuit. So it's an interesting one to put on Peacock exclusive. Logan, bring back the Freedom 100. Absolutely. I mean, it's gutting. You can just go through YouTube and just watch the finishes from the past decade, and so many great finishes, including even ones from guys who are currently killing it on the IndyCar grid with Colton Herta and Pato O'Ward. I think they had a very close finish. What would it have been back in 2019, 2018? Freedom 100, but it's really great, and it's great for the youngsters. I mean, Jack Harvey, who is on the grid, is a previous winner of that. Colton Herta edged out Pato O'Ward. It was a really fantastic experience for young drivers to get the experience to ride at Indy. And also, the Indy 500 is such a big race. If you can run well in the Freedom 100, if you're like over 2 seasons in Indy Lights, then maybe someone's going to give you an outside shot to have a look at the Indy 500 as a one-off ride from that. But yeah, the Freedom 100 was great. Only one off week between Mid-Ohio and Nashville. Yeah, the racings can be pretty relentless. My only big issue with the calendar, obviously I think we've spoken about and reacted, but my only big issue is this start. Obviously you want to build momentum to the series, and big gap, almost a month's gap between the first race in St. Pete and then Texas Motor Speedway, then another big gap between Long Beach, and then another big gap between Barber and the month of May starting, obviously going into Indianapolis, first visit to the road course, and then the 106th running of the Indy 500. But yeah, it's what worked really well last year is, although the start of the season got postponed and pushed back, it did mean that races were pretty much back to back, and there was a lot of hype because we had different winners. You literally had action every week, and it was pretty exciting. You could say it works one way in that you're going to get exciting. If it's an exciting race in St. Pete, it leaves you hungry for more. But I always think that type of thing, it's a gap, and you always have to compete with other series, and Formula One will come back within that time. It's a perfect time to kind of get eyes on the series. Formula E will be running around that time as well. The longer gaps you leave between, the more people kind of forget about your series. So I think that's the go from there. Texas sucks with the PJ1. Absolutely does. I hope the effects of it have been lessened. But yeah, big positive of so many races on network TV, and only the one exclusive one being streamed on Peacock. But for us in the UK, it'll all be on Sky Sports F1 throughout the season as they continued their deal with NBC. So that is good for us. Throw Sebring after St. Petersburg. Short travel time in Sebring would be a real fun track to watch IndyCar race on. It would be, actually. My only issue with Sebring is I don't know, is it an issue? They have so much testing there. So would it be that unpredictable? I don't know. It would be a great track, I think, to have on it. And, it's one of those classic racetracks in America. And, it's what all the teams use because of its kind of rough, abrasive surface. They kind of use it to kind of get their street car set up, don't they, with testing at Sebring. So it would be a really interesting one. I just wonder whether it is maybe too hard on the cars for a full race. But is that necessarily too much of an issue? Rumour is the reason we have such a big gap after St. Pete is because Homestead was going to be after it. Frustrating. I guess, yeah. It would be natural to have left Homestead there because obviously both in the state of Florida. But yeah, NASCAR obviously rumours pulling their weight on that one and not allowing IndyCar to go back to Homestead, which is a shame because another oval would have been great on the calendar. You should come to America to watch an IndyCar race. We are definitely doing it with all the kind of money we make from the channel, which isn't like massive amounts, but we're saving it up and we're really hoping that we're going to get across for the 2023 Indianapolis 500. So we're definitely trying to, John. We're trying to get over for the 2 weeks for qualifying and the race and spend 2 weeks in Indianapolis. Well, the IndyCar schedule should be about 19-20 races. They need to stop these double headers. It's lazy scheduling. I think so. But I believe the double header. Obviously, we've got rid of all of the double headers, bar introducing Iowa as a double header again after it missing. And I don't know if that was maybe in some relation as part of the deal for Hy-Vee to kind of get 2 race weekends out of it. And ovals, I don't think oval double headers are too bad. You know, and a double header at Mid-Ohio was clearly quite a bad idea because it's a really physically demanding track, and you could just tell that everyone was pretty much shattered physically on that second race day. There wasn't too much hard racing, although the first race was pretty good. So I don't mind the double headers on the ovals too much, but yeah, preferably you would have 17 unique tracks there, or like PJ says, up in the calendar to 19-20 races. There's so many awesome racetracks. I mean, yeah, America is literally not short of any racetracks there. That's an interesting one. Obviously, IndyCar and Motorsport Network did a global fan survey. How many of you in the chat participated in the survey? Did any of you do the survey from now? But yeah, NASCAR is screwing over the whole continent with their greed. Yeah, I think so. From what I understand of it, although I do not understand the politics of NASCAR too much, other than the fact that they basically, have free range over the motorsport scene in America. IndyCar's doing its best to fight back, but obviously there is a lot of time that NASCAR's gained great control over the country. Do you think Omicron variant could have an impact on the season? I don't. Obviously you can't 100% say that, but I would like to think, fingers crossed, that this season, I mean, if we've got through the last 2 seasons with, I would say, Omicron seem, I can't talk about the variants and its effects on it, but it seems to be milder symptoms but spreads a lot quicker. And I think the more severe cases have come from previous kind of strands of COVID. So if the IndyCar schedule has been affected that, and only Canada has been the one that's been affected last year, that looks to be going ahead. So I would imagine, fingers crossed, hoping that the pandemic doesn't affect that at all. Mauro Carvalho, me. I don't know what that was in relation to. I'm actually looking forward to the Iowa doubleheader. Might make the trip up there for the weekend, so would have nice to see 2 races in the same weekend. See, that's what I think. I think oval races, you really can get away with it, doubleheaders in the weekend. And if you're a fan and that's your local track, or you can get to that race, seeing 2 races in a weekend, I don't think it's going to devalue it at all. And oval races are so unpredictable from race to race that, yeah, you're so likely to get such a different outcome. I mean, just look at the Texas doubleheader last year. Pato did amazing. Dixon theoretically smashed both of them because he led most laps, didn't he, on that second race. But Pato, had a real barnstormer of a second race, getting his first victory within the series. So, it definitely adds still that excitement from there. Moving on to the People Ready sponsor. I'll come back to the chat as we go from as we work our way through. Oh, right. Sorry, Maro. Thanks for kind of clearing that up. You participated in the survey. Nice. I think it was a useful thing to go. It didn't take too long, but yeah, hopefully IndyCar gets some good information from that. People ready to sponsor. So obviously Christian. When I saw the 30, I'm still getting my head round that Takuma Sato's not driving the 30, and it's going to be Christian Lundgaard in the 30, isn't it? Is Christian Lundgaard in the 30? Why have I suddenly just doubted that? Yeah, because Jack Harvey's in the 45 high V car. But it's a pretty nice livery. It has throwbacks to, I think someone said to me, it kind of looks like the Indy 500 badge from last year, doesn't it? From the 105th running. Like if you had the 105th running Indy 500's kind of badge, it kind of looks like this car with the colour scheme that it got going. I think there's a pretty nice livery through there, and it's good for obviously Rahal Letman Lanigan retaining a sponsor. They're also doing the XBEL 375 with Texas Motor Speedway and the season finale in Long Beach with the same sponsorship. It's the main issue with IndyCar teams, isn't it? Going from there, what do we make of the livery? Yeah, Hugh, we got a live IndyCar stream, and also guys, this is, like I said, general chat as well. So if any things you want to talk about within the stream, we can talk about, whether it doesn't have to be like recent news or anything, or any news you want to react to and get a discussion going. Go from there. Morning, Jacob. For you, afternoon for me. Hopefully we can stay on to about 5 o'clock, so another 45 minutes. Hopefully we can get through good from there. It was really nice, and I think Indy actually listened to it. Yeah, I think they do. I do think IndyCar are making a real conscious effort of listening to the fans and actually genuinely taking them on board. Go from there. But yeah, Mauro really likes the livery. Go from there. Takuma is on the 51. He is indeed, as Dale Coyne Racing. I think that's pretty good lineup with Malukas and Sato. Great experience with Sato as well, and he'll run well at the 500. Dale Coyne didn't run particularly well at last year's 500, but they have been a team that started running better at the 500. Go from here. Here was an interesting one I wanted to talk about with the silly season. Obviously, you can catch all these news stories and read them in a bit more detail on the IndyCar website. I thought it was the easiest place for us to run through the latest stories. But yeah, Gavin Ward being snapped up by Arrow McLaren. Obviously, that's quite a big recruitment. Former Formula One Red Bull engineer. I think this is a pretty big move for Arrow McLaren, and I think he's gone as like a step up for Arrow McLaren. He won't be like he was Joseph Newgarden's race engineer in 2019, but I think he's kind of overseeing both engineers in the Arrow McLaren garage, as I believe both Pato and Felix are retaining. Craig Hampson will serve as Rosenqvist's new engineer, and Will Anderson will stay on with O'Ward. But interesting from there. Predictions for Jimmy running full time. I really don't know. I think he did genuinely improve. I think the ovals are going to be the most interesting for Jimmy Johnson. So race 2, I'm most excited about for Jimmy to see how he gets on at Texas, and also Scott McLaughlin, because he really did well on the ovals last year. It's going to be interesting to go get early sightings of how teams are looking going into the Indy 500 and what the oval form is looking from there. Any news regarding the Ed Carpenter seat? I hope Linus Lundqvist gets it, but seems like Aitken will. Maybe I'm biased as a Swede. Will go from there. No, I haven't heard any further updates on there. I saw, I think a couple of days ago, maybe a week ago, David Land tweeting that the number 20 driver has been signed and it's going to be a popular one. I don't know if Aitken counts as being a popular appointment. Obviously he was meant to sign. Does he bring sponsorship? I don't know, because a lot of the European guys have a lot of good backing that isn't enough to get to Formula 1, but it's still a significant amount of money that probably is enough to gain you a decent seat within IndyCar. So that is going to be interesting on that front. There's no replacement for Ward at Penske, so I imagine that's going to be quite a big one from there. So Scott McLaughlin gets Simon Pagenaud's former engineer, and McLaughlin's former engineer is moving over to the Penske Porsche LMDH sports car program, which is going to be really interesting actually. I think that's really exciting. Penske and Porsche lining up on the sports car front obviously is interesting there. Also, we've got at the end of this month the Daytona 24 hours coming up, which obviously is exciting, and Alex Palou off his championship, I see, he's going to be riding in the DPI class alongside Scott Dixon, so that's going to be quite a strong car actually. I don't know who the fourth driver is going to be, but I think he's with Renger, who obviously partnered Kevin Magnussen in the 01 Chip Ganassi entry last year full time, and Kevin Magnussen will be running with the team, but also Marcus Ericsson will be in the DPI class, as Chip Ganassi are going to be running too. So they pretty much got all four of their drivers in, apart from I believe Jimmy Johnson is staying with, who was he with last year? The number 48 Cadillac entry. Go from there. Anyone else think it's weird JPM is going to be in the 6 car for McLaren and Castro Neves will be the 06 car? We could technically have 2 6s on the same podium. That is pretty weird. Yeah, I'm surprised they've moved from the 86 to the 6 car, but yeah, I must be in from there. Also, do you think Vasser Sullivan will join with a new engine manufacturer in a few years? I don't think it'll be a few years. Rumours were that it may even be announced this month or in the next couple of months that a new engine manufacturer is going to come in. I think Vasser Sullivan will partner, but I think they're just taking their time to decide who they're going to partner with. Obviously, leaving Dale Coyne's partnership, you would feel like they have an inkling or at least a strong desire to be partnered with a team who are regularly competing higher up the grid. Maybe even they may look with Ed Carpenter in years to come in terms of going from there, because obviously Ed Carpenter losing the US Air Force sponsorship this year, that is going to be an interesting one from there. I really believe McLaren will join the top 3 teams in them consistent pace. I think Arrow McLaren are pretty much there with the top 3 teams. I think Rahal, Lettman, Lanigan are going to be the really interesting one to see how they get on this year, because I think they've got a really strong driver lineup and they're doing all the right things to push. Go from there. Oh, the 4th driver is Sebastian Bourdais. Geez, that 01 driver lineup for the 24 is a mega lineup for the drivers there. Well, in terms of IndyCar talent, and obviously Renger as well. Would you like IndyCar to have a throwback weekend? What do you mean a throwback weekend, in terms of retro cars or going to an old racetrack, or just on their YouTube channel just fielding a throwback race? Go from there. Would you give Jimmy an award for most improved? Oh, I would give Jimmy an award for most improved. I think he's one to watch this year. I think he's working really hard. It's going to be fascinating to see how it gets on. Oh, that was it, another one, the 22 going into the LMP2 class. Colton and Devlin DeFrancesco, obviously now teammates, with Devlin being a rookie taking on the 29 Andretti Autosport car for this season. But Pato O'Ward I thought was very interesting, that having 2 potentially title rivals. Not most of the guys get on in IndyCar so much, so there's not really like fierce rivalries off the track, but it's going to be interesting seeing those 2 pair up and how they get on in the LMP2 class at the end of the month. Wish they would use the Indy 500 as a throwback weekend. I mean, they had the Johnny Lightning thing. Right, throwback weekend in terms of liveries. Yeah, that would be pretty cool to go from there. I think Top Gun Racing, from what I believe, will be keeping that Johnny Lightning themed paint scheme. I think that's going to be just pretty much from there. Have you heard of Black Flags Matter? I have. He is a NASCAR YouTuber from there, but I know he was getting into IndyCar a little bit more towards the end, and he's done some IndyCar videos. But yeah, good YouTuber on the scene. Retro car liveries. Cheers, John, for clearing up. I've got it from now. I'd love IndyCar to do what NASCAR is doing with the pre-season testing. Open it up, make it free, and use it to hype up the season. I think, didn't IndyCar used to do that? I might be completely wrong on that front, but I'm convinced that IndyCar definitely used to do that. With spring testing, I'm pretty sure that was an open day. But yeah, you mean making testing open for everyone everywhere? I don't know. Someone can probably firm that up in chat, but I'm pretty sure that is a constant one from there. But Connor Daly, still unsure on his future at the moment, but may obviously end up in that Carlin Juncos partnership, as nothing's been mentioned with Max Chilton. Obviously, Callum Ilott coming across from Formula 2. That was another no. I wonder if it's in the news stories here. It might not be, but basically, he's obviously, Callum Ilott is a part of the Ferrari Academy. He was the Ferrari reserve driver last year, I believe. But he has taken a gap year from that academy to be able to compete within IndyCar. So, but I imagine, you know, if it goes well with Hinkos, IndyCar is probably Callum's long-term future if he continues to go from there. But I guess the other major relevant news to go on from there is obviously Long Beach has secured its future until 2028. Let's have a look at actually the Indy Lights schedule. Haven't had a chance to have a look at it yet and see going on. Obviously, it'd be interesting to. I think it's going to be quite a tight championship this year, with obviously both Malukas and Carl Kirkwood getting promoted into the main series. I think there's still some guys like Linus Lundqvist will be there. Stingray, Rob will be able to kind of fight as well. So yeah, that's going to be really interesting. So so they get a race at Iowa. They won't be at Texas, so they get 2 ovals in Iowa and Gateway. So that's good. There'll be 2 good weekends, I think, for them as well. Double header at Raceway, actually. That is funny, because obviously, IndyCar doesn't get it. Indy Road Course 2, Barber Motorsports Park. Wow, actually, looking at that 2022 schedule for Indy Lights, that is frustrating as hell for the drivers. Look at that. We thought the gap between the second race of the season was long for IndyCar. February 27th to May the 1st. Jeez, that is a big gap out of the car. I imagine they'll probably look to get quite a bit of testing within there. May, June, July looks pretty full on for them, as well as going into August, and then it's a kind of pretty full on there with a double header at the season finale. IndyCar needs to go back to the northeast market with either Pocono or Watkins Glen. I think so. Look, I think a tri-oval would be pretty good on the series, and I think it would ease a lot of the fans currently watching. I think are quite interested in more oval races and making that balance more even, especially if you take away another one of the Indianapolis road courses, go from there. That would be good. But Watkins Glen is a great track. What is the issue with Watkins Glen? Again, is that owned by someone related to NASCAR that kind of stops it becoming a thing? But yeah, it seems kind of untapped potential on 2 pretty great tracks for ovals and obviously a road course as well. Go from there. Do you think they will do a 9/11 tribute at Laguna Seca? I imagine they will. I imagine there's a tribute every year. So, yeah, obviously it won't be as big as last year. What was last year? It was 20 years on, wasn't it? So, but I imagine it will still have a tribute for there. Indy at the Glen would be stellar race, I think. It would be an absolute great race. And I think these current setups with these current Indy cars, yeah, I think it's a really great racetrack. and lots of overtaking points. I'd love to see it back at the Glen. I don't know how viable it is. What tracks would you like to see added to removed from the calendar? Well, I'll tell you what. Let's get the calendar up, as we've got the broadcast deals there. So we'll go back to the calendar. Ooh, I hope the internet hasn't gone, because that would stuff the stream. Right. You're fine. Internet is okay. Internet is okay. So let's get the schedule up. Well, I like the Iowa doubleheader, but for following seasons, I'd be happy to kind of see that go to individual race down there. And I know we have the doubleheader with NASCAR, isn't it? Where we have that second road course ones. Realistically, you only need to do the road course once, and that should be in the month of May. That's Indianapolis month. You don't need to go back there. So, but I understand publicity-wise why they do it. So I'd probably get rid of those two. Like I say, getting a Watkins Glen back on the calendar would be fantastic. A Homestead Miami would be a brilliant oval to add on. Pocono would be good to have back. Yeah, I don't know. I'll open that up in chat. What tracks would you like to see kind of return going with that? Hugh, I think it's less the safety concerns from what I've heard from people. Although obviously, who was it? Arrow driver, Canadian. Why does his name escape me? Is there? But obviously his big crash that has obviously paralysed him from the waist downwards as it stands. Yeah, that's obviously a big safety concern there, but I think it is more the attendance, and that is, I think, IndyCar's big issue at the moment. As they are growing, the crowds are coming back, you're getting more and more attendance and more popular, and the oval races are getting popular again, but it is harder to hide a poorly attended race event on a oval track as compared to a road course and a street course. You know, if it's not as well attended, you can pretty easily just scope on the kind of field out grandstands on the main straights a lot better. But if you're at an oval and you see empty grandstands, that's pretty hard to hide. So I think that is the most difficult one to go for now. Round in Watkins Glen would be insane. The issue with Watkins is probably safety, I'd guess. I'd go some very tight turns that could go bad, fast little open wheel cars, but after Nashville that's hardly an excuse. Yeah, fair point. But you can make modifications, I think, to the tracks. I don't think that's necessarily too much of an issue, but yeah, I guess from there. Good evening, Gianni. Happy New Year as well. Thanks for joining in chat. Thanks for jumping in. Good to see you as well. Why not VIR? Remind me again. VIR. Miami Homestead would be great to see again. It would be. Wickens. That was it. Robert Wickens. Oh. I knew someone would help me out in chat in terms of that. Pocono for the Triple Crown would be great. There we go. Robert Wickens coming up there. Michigan and Cleveland. Michigan is a big one. Having watched, obviously, we did that on Christmas Eve, didn't we? The Michigan watch along. That was really fantastic. But yeah, great oval. But it was definitely a war of attrition. But I guess it's because Penske's gone so hard on Detroit, and obviously we're going to that new street layout in 2023. This was the last year at the Belle Isle Park. So it's going to be interesting because it's very difficult to rejuvenate that city centre of Detroit, but that's what they're going to hide. But I go for the Virginia International Raceway. Thank you, Hugh. I haven't actually hit my kind of goal to go and watch a race there and see what the kind of layout looks like, but I'll take your word for it that it's a good one. Maybe a race in Mexico. I feel like, you know, Mexico is a great bridge. It's not going to be too difficult logistically to go to Mexico for IndyCar. You've got Pato, and you've got a mad support for Pato. I think when he turned up the Autodromo Hernandez for the Formula One race. There was huge support for Pato down in Mexico, but also with the South American fan base who have traditionally supported the guys, obviously with the likes of Elio having another full-time season this year. It seems a really smart move for IndyCar to get a race in Mexico, but it's difficult because you don't want to go to the Autodromo Hernandez because obviously everyone's just going to be comparing it to F1 and saying that the Indy cars are X amount slower than Formula 1, and then it's not necessarily bad publicity because of, you know, how they're driving, but that's all you're going to hear outside of IndyCar. For those of them within IndyCar, I think for the already established fan base, I think it's good, but I think PR-wise, that's probably what's putting them off a little bit at the moment. Have you heard of Ozarks International Raceway being built to FIA Grade 2 specifications so it would fit with the other circuits IndyCar uses? Looks like an insanely fun track. I have not, but that does sound good. I'll look it up. Well, maybe let's see if we can get up Ozarks International Raceway. Okay, well let's this is probably a best look at the map. Let's see if that's a bigger picture we can get up for you guys on screen. No, that's a pretty small track map. There we go. I guess, how does that kind of look on stream? My face is probably getting in the way of it, actually. So let me see. No, actually, we're fine. What do we reckon? Wrong one for that. What do we reckon on the track from there? Let me try and keep up with track going from there. A race in the new Miami F1 track maybe would be a good call. Maybe. I think any track that you go to that F1 currently race at, I think is always going to be difficult. I think if you're going to Miami, you've got to go to Homestead Miami on the oval if it's possible. But obviously, it's go from there. Better. Interesting. Near Metos, I would do the Miami F1 track over it. COTA or New Hampshire. COTA is a good track, but there are so many good tracks in America that it actually doesn't fall, because it has character, but it doesn't have that much character, if anyone understands me. I know race fan Heaven Rick, who I think one of the early videos we said we got him on a podcast, his local track is COTA, so he would love to see it return to the calendar, but no, I'm not sure at all. IndyCar needs 2 Canadian races again. 1 race in Canada is not enough. I mean, look, Montreal, I think would be incredible for IndyCar, but they can only have a certain number of races on the track a year, and obviously F1 holds the priority to that. Interlagos would be a great one, I think, for IndyCar as well. I think they would go from there. The Sao Paulo round in Brazil would be a long shot, but I think it would be a go from there. Run at Roval at Mexico City, the track can support it. Okay, yeah, I'd be inclined to go from there. Yeah, a lot of people saying that IndyCar needs to up its races per year. 17 is too short. It does feel too short, but I don't know. I feel the analogy to go with is it's like building a house at the moment. IndyCar is building really good momentum as a series, I think. And it's, you know, putting in structure. It's got the drivers in place. It's got top talent, and it keeps attracting top talent to it. It's got the teams in place. It's got the competitive races on track, and it's got a core of really good tracks. So I feel like they're just really strengthening, making it a really strong foundation for the series before they start and strengthening those teams' positions within the series before they start getting too ambitious with the calendar and expanding. Obviously, COVID is still kind of a thing, Like we said, not really on the scheduling of IndyCar, as obviously it's all contained within the US. So although not something that should be taken lightly, it is a bit more easier to manage, say, than kind of like the Formula One calendar. But yeah, I think we certainly will be looking at 19 to 20 races in the coming future. Really miss Vancouver. Edmonton had great crowds too. Yeah, I feel F1 is too long, not Indy is too short. I think a happy balance between the two. I think F1 is going on the too long basis. IndyCar could do with a couple of more races. Certainly so there's no large gaps within the calendar, and so it doesn't have such a long off season, because that's the problem. There's a lot of hype. Alex Palou, absolutely fantastic. What a season finale we had as well. Lots of hype around Pato O'Ward. Joseph Newgarden killing it as always. Go from there. Oh, Gianni, I'm sorry you're still bored at home with COVID. I hope you guys get to go out of isolation soon. But yeah, what are we going to have by the end of it? Is it 6 months? So what? October, November, December, January, February. So 5 months pretty much is the close season for IndyCar. And I think that's just a little bit too long and loses some enthusiasm. Or it's too long to make people wait. But I guess people wait like a year for like a new season of their latest TV show before binging it. But yeah, I guess the gaps within season are the more kind of difficult one for me. I would suggest replacing... sorry, we'll go back to the calendar. Go from there. But yeah, Ozark, sorry, whoever suggested that again, Ozark did look a pretty fun track, to be fair. I'll try and get like an onboard or something. Go from there. I would suggest replacing TMS in March with Homestead, and then COTA as 2 races in March. Yeah, I mean, that gets a oval and it brings another unique track onto the calendar in COTA. Texas is an interesting one. I think we've got to see, because if you lose the PJ1, or at least the effects of the PJ1 on the surface, that has obviously dampened the race in the last 2 to 3 years, then it's a good track. We've had very good races at Texas Motor Speedway, but the PJ1 that obviously has been brought in for NASCAR and hasn't really massively benefited NASCAR either, that's the one that's... yeah, it's probably one you don't want to lose it, because it's an oval on the circuit and it is a traditional good oval. But if it continues to just have that kind of single groove racing just on the straight, and you can only have the single groove on the corner, it's going to make it difficult, because we've had too many. Who was it? Hinch went out last year, didn't he, on the PJ1, and then it was Rosenqvist when he was chasing down Scott Dixon in 2020 that lost it on the PJ1 as well. It just the grip in there is crazy. It was just Pato was balls to the wall. It lessened the effects, didn't it, during the day, and having the track rubbered in the day before. The double header actually worked well at Texas, because the second race was definitely a lot better than the first race. So it's interesting. It's going to be interesting to see how a single is going from there. It's been relayed. Well, in that case, don't expect a great race at Texas, unfortunately. I hope you can go out too on Monday, again, Gianni, as well. IndyCar needs a new marketing department. I know Penske is working on it, but how hard is it to hire a social media manager with better content? In fairness, I'll be honest with you, they are at jobs at the moment. I believe I saw on Twitter, and someone shared with me, they're doing digital content, so to like improve stuff on their YouTube channels, social media. I think they have someone in place, but they're having someone to support. So they are actively trying to tackle those positions, and I think they are listening to the community on that, Metros. So I hold with them on that one. But yes, obviously, in other sports, their social media has been better. While the PJ1 didn't help, I say the 2017 repave wounded the IndyCar race there. Yeah, I guess that was difficult as well. So there's a lot of things, unfortunately, with Texas that's gone from being a great racetrack to not go from there. IndyCar used to have spring training at Homestead, Sebring, Laguna Seca, open to all teams, lots of media attention, open to fans. Unfortunately, they stopped it. I believe they've only stopped that due to COVID. I wouldn't rule out spring training coming back with all those things being involved, because 2019, from memory, was the last time it happened. In fact, I think people were even there at COTA in 2020. It was a bit miserable and it was a bit cold going into the 2020 season, but then COVID hit. So I would imagine that is something they will look to bring back, because they are pretty good with interaction with fans, I have to say, and getting that media hype going from there. If Peacock had show like Drive to Survive, do you think they could bring new fans, or is IndyCar not dramatic enough for a show like that? IndyCar is definitely dramatic enough for a Drive to Survive style show. What I would say is I would like IndyCar to learn from Drive to Survive, because what Drive to Survive does is it sometimes promotes false narratives that aren't there within the sport, like Carlos Sainz and Lando, I think, rivalry, and a Max Verstappen Daniel Ricciardo rivalry that wasn't there. If they just made it true and honest about those, the personalities within IndyCar are big enough. The drivers, they're fantastic, they're brilliant, and you wouldn't want it to be on Peacock. No offense to Peacock, but it has minimal subscription base compared to the real big guns like Amazon Prime or Netflix. As Netflix has Drive to Survive, I would go to Amazon Prime, the other big streaming service, as they have done with the football series. I think they've tackled other teams, but they've done with sport teams like the All or Nothing series. So they're open to doing those documentary style shows. So I believe, actually, I've read that they are in the process of negotiating a show like that, but I would put it on Amazon Prime, because you're going to get a lot of widespread audience, and that's what's going to draw new eyes into the series. Go from there. What is the PJ1 Texas? Was my first or second IndyCar race ever. I believe it was a compound. Some people may say it is a compound laid on top of the track tarmac that was supposed to increase grip for the NASCARs. If I've got that wrong, someone please do correct me in chat. But I go from there. IndyCar had job openings for digital content on their hiring website. Yeah, no, I saw that. So it goes from there. If F1 isn't really that dramatic either, Drive to Survive type show for IndyCar could definitely help them. Yeah, absolutely. Vezen, you were just answering the PJ1 NASCAR from there. Increased grip. Nice. Peacock doesn't have a wide enough audience. Yeah, absolutely, Matt Malarkey. You wouldn't want to put a show like that on Peacock. NBC may say that they want it, but you'd have to go to Amazon Prime, with it also being able to be streamed on Peacock for Peacock users, but you'd have to go on such a form for that. Sometimes I watch Amazon Prime only for the Grand Tour. Yep, nice, Gianni. Alonso Series was on Amazon Prime. Yeah, it was actually, and Alonso Series was very good as well. So that would definitely be a platform that I would tackle. You don't want to put it on Netflix, because they're heavily invested in Formula One. So I would go for their main rival in Amazon Prime and go on that front. I'm interested on Pato's opinion as an IndyCar veteran on the 2022 McLaren F1 car. I think IndyCar in 2022 F1 will be more similar than people suspect. I think it's going that way. They're definitely going to kind of lessen the input from teams. There's still a lot more freedom in the Formula One car than there is to the IndyCar. But yeah, I don't think Pato, well, he won't have a chance to drive the 2022 car until the end of the season at the very least. Obviously, he tested the 2021 car in the Young Drivers Test. But yeah, go from there. I would love a Team Penske team show on Amazon Prime. That would be awesome, because Team Penske are the team in IndyCar. They are the most successful team in championships, Indy 500s, drivers, personal successes as well. I suppose outside of... I suppose Joseph Newgarden's the guy who can really challenge the Foyts and the Dixons for the titles. He's going to be interesting to see how he is in the championship. So go from there. Correct, this year they sprays a different resin on top of the PJ1. Okay. Alright, so let's see, we'll go from there. But yeah, that would be really cool to have a Team Penske show. Has to be said. Okay, so we're coming into about the last 9 minutes of the stream, guys. I think we've covered the main news topics. Though, if you want any news or any kind of things that happened over the close season you want us to talk about now, like I said, I'm going to try and make this live stream a weekly thing, because it's good to kind of chat and communicate with you guys, and we can kind of, yeah, just discuss anything that you want from the IndyCar world. And, you know, we try and reply to every comment on the videos, and I think we do a pretty good job of that. But having a live discussion as we go along doing it as well, I think it's pretty good. I suppose I'll throw it into the chat. Do you like having a live stream for the news as well? Obviously there'll be a little bit of a delay on that, but yeah, I'll just go through the news and make sure that we're not missing anything. So as far as IndyCar YouTube goes, they should have a weekly classic race review reaction with current and previous drivers commentating. That would be pretty cool, Terrace. Have to say, that would be pretty cool. Yeah, love the live stream. Nice, awesome. Okay, when are the winter testing for IndyCar? Good question. I believe 19th of January they will be at Sebring, but let me see if I can get it up from here to get the more dates. But obviously we'll get off images. No, that's 2021. But yeah, the 19th of January is the first one to look out for. I imagine David Land's probably going down to that. Okay, so this is a pretty good one for Marshall. Let me have a quick scan for you. Oval testing begins after St. Petersburg, which we'll catch in the new testing schedule in the coming weeks. So you won't have any oval testing go from there. The first private test of the year 2022 TT IndyCar Series takes place Monday at Sebring. So I guess that is the Monday just gone. They've already done some private testing. Then next on the calendar is a pair of Chevy powered entries, AJ Foyt Racing, at January 19th. So Carl Kirkwood will be making his testing debut on the 19th of January there. And as the majority of the field, okay, so there's going to be quite a big gap in testing. 14th to the 15th of February is the next test, with 20 cars set for the 14th, and 4 are registered for the 15th at Sebring's short course. It's a surprise actually they've waited long, because usually they do it quite soon after the 24, and I guess it is still quite soon. We go from there. More IndyCar content will always give you. I like this live stream, like just chilling here. Nice, cool. Glad you like it, guys. Glad we've got a big thumbs up on the live stream. Some suggested if they had a late model on Indy Lights races at Texas before the IndyCar race to rubber over the corners. Yeah, that would be cool. I think the more rubber you can put on top of that PJ1, the better the IndyCar race will be. Go from there. Yeah, I'm so hyped for IndyCar, and there's a little content. Awesome, Mauro. Go from there. A few cars. We'll be back on Friday for a podcast / Outside the Tub episode. Me and Stephen will be recording that tomorrow from there. And I think it's difficult-wise, timing-wise, work has just picked up massively since the pandemic. Obviously, we started this channel during the pandemic, so I had more time and the commitment to go to feature videos. But until, you know, this can you know, hopefully this channel grows and grows, and one day we can make kind of content for you guys full time in terms of that basis. That would be an awesome stuff, and for us to kind of be getting out there races, meeting you guys at the racetrack, and maybe also getting race reactions from you guys there. That would be cool on that basis. But until then, we might have to do feature videos as kind of like a hybrid, so me and Stephen on screen talking about kind of things, but also incorporating videos within that, kind of like what we do a little bit with the outside the tub stuff. But that's kind of what we'll go from there. When we have a David land on the channel, I've tried with David. I'll keep trying, but it hasn't been possible to make it happen from there. Happy birthday to your brother on Saturday, Gianni. Keep up the great content. Cheers, James. Glad you enjoy it. From there, okay, last 3 minutes. I'm glad we're back to Jacob. It's great to do that. Like we'll try and get 2 videos out a week things, and I'll try, if there's any desperate breaking news videos out, do you guys you like the breaking news videos, don't you? So if I can do that, I can do that. Loved your Mario Andretti, Marshall Pruitt, and other driver interviews. Nice. Working on another driver interview, so hopefully by the end of the month we should have another driver interview. We did have a couple of other ones that fell through pre-Christmas, but I'll kind of get back onto those. But I know you guys like the driver interviews on the channel, so I'll try and get a bit more there, because we can go a bit more in depth from there. Hey, there is a new young Brit making IndyCar content. I can't remember the name yet. He does F1 usually. Oh, that's interesting. Get me the name. I might know him in terms of that. But the more IndyCar content out there, the better, I think. Definitely, but nice. I know Will FP1 did a video about the Nashville race of the chaos that was Nashville, and that blew up a little bit. But yeah, that'll be cool if there was some kind of other stuff from there. But yeah, Dylan, yes, Dylan James, that was good. I know he did a video on why he loved IndyCar. Goes from there. Dylan James GP. Yeah, Dylan does some good content. So yeah, he goes from there. Try to get Mark Blundell from an interview. That would be cool. I'm sure Mark Blundell would actually be an interesting one to talk to for his time in the series. Yeah, I could probably reach out to Blundell. If you guys kind of get guys you'd like to see us interviewed, kind of old school drivers, I can always try and reach out and go from that route. What Grosjean did to Johnson at Laguna Seca was awesome. That was one of the craziest overtakes of the season. That was all or nothing from Roman Grosjean, definitely. See if you can get Road to Indy drivers interviews maybe more accessible. Yeah, I think we're trying a couple of those. So one might be in the pipeline. A couple might be in the pipeline for the Road to Indy ladder. So we'll try and see if we can get those going as well. But yeah, guys, we'll keep trying to get some more driver interviews for you as well. So yeah, that's pretty much. I think Nigel Mansell would be a massive coup. Go for now. I don't know how many media appearances Nigel does nowadays. I think he is pretty much a recluse nowadays. From there, let me get. We'll go back to the end screen on that basis. Maybe Villeneuve too. Jacques Villeneuve would be pretty cool to get on. It'd be interesting to see what it goes from there. Will you be covering the Rolex 24? Lots of IndyCar drivers there. We can definitely. Last year we definitely covered. Go from there. Let me see on the weekend. It's difficult for me because I work pretty much all day the Sunday, so I'm gonna miss there. But I could definitely do some stuff on the Saturday. Possible. I may be able to live stream a couple of hours, kind of like a watch along, if you guys were interested in that, to kind of cover there. But we wouldn't be able to get the closing stages of the race because that's usually on a Sunday afternoon at some point from memory. Go from there. Over here wise UK. So and that would be right smack in the middle of work for me. So we'll see. We'll definitely do a video on how the IndyCar drivers got on in the Rolex 24 afterwards. But yeah, definitely going from there. Right, guys, 5 o'clock is hit. So we'll try and like I said, make this a weekly thing with the live streams, get you guys chatting, get talking through any news. But thanks for everyone who jumped in chat today, really appreciated it. Hope you enjoyed covering all the news and goes on that basis. We'll be back next week, so if you have any, just keep us updated on how the IndyCar drivers are doing at Le Mans, not necessarily everything from Le Mans. Cool, and from there, yep, a watch along would be awesome. I thought you would think that, Katie. A big endurance racing fan, Katie, so yeah, I'm not surprised you go from there. Nigel Mansell would be cool too, though. Nigel Mansell would be very cool, but I would go, no idea about how I'd contact Nigel, but I'll go from there. But guys, thank you so much. You've been fantastic in chat. Thanks for all the support you show on the channel. Fingers crossed we can get to 5k. I mean, 5k before the start of the season would be incredible, but fingers crossed we can get 5k pretty early into the season on the channel from there. So if you are new around here and enjoy the content we do, don't obviously forget to subscribe. Also like the video, it helps us in the kind of YouTube algorithm worlds, in that stuff, whatever. But yeah, if you drop a like if you like the stream, appreciate that, guys. Appreciate all the support. And yeah, we'll see you Friday. Will be the next video, like I said, a podcast or outside the tub episode. Me and Stephen haven't quite decided what we're doing on that, so look for the usual time, 11 p.m. UK time, which is about 6 p.m. Eastern time for you guys over in the States, and what's that, about 1 o'clock Pacific time. But yeah, should be from there. But look forward to it. If there's any breaking news and I am around and I'm available, I'll try and pop out a video. Obviously, probably the big one would be that number 20 Ed Carpenter seat being announced. But yeah, I'll try and pop up a kind of quick 5-minute video as we do the breaking news reactions as we build up to the IndyCar season. But guys, for now, you Indy fans, keep